What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so today we're going to do a full story video. A full story video is when I sit down and take a bunch of videos I did in the past and combine them together into one big video. Today's full story video is going to be about, well, Heroes Reunited. Heroes Reunited was this second event in the Heroes Reborn reality where you had our heroes trying their best to find the way to defeat Galactus, who arrived to Earth to consume it. Now, the thing is, it all came down to Dr. Doom having the time travel back in time over and over again until he was able to find the best way to defeat Galactus as a way to save the world. But at the same time, for Dr. Doom, he realized he had no choice but to go ahead and work with the heroes of Earth as a way to save the planet Earth from Galactus. And so here is Heroes Reunited. I do hope you enjoy. Galactus is coming. Like, one more time for y'all. Galactus is on his way to Earth to devour it. What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to cover the next big crossover for the Heroes Reborn reality, better known as Heroes Reunited. Now, Heroes Reunited is really more the idea of our heroes coming together because, well, Galactus is coming. And the thing is, in our last few videos that we had covered for the Heroes Reborn reality, we kept seeing the idea of Galactus on his way, like small glimpses here and there, like, okay, he's coming again, he'll be there very soon, but now it's time for him to come to Earth. But for our heroes, they kind of ignored all these different hints of the idea of Galactus, but the problem is kind of like, no. You guys now need to get ready because here he comes. And so in today's video, we're going to cover the prologue and also part 1 of Heroes Reunited. And really, as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we pick up with the Silver Surfer. Now, for the Silver Surfer, let's not forget that he's kind of the reason why our heroes, the Fantastic Four, were able to get their abilities, but also, like, he was captured by Dr. Doom. Now, with them being captured by Dr. Doom and having the Fantastic Four and also Black Panther going out of their way to save his life, it's kind of him feeling bad about the idea of Galactus heading over to their planet. Now, for Galactus, he already sent over his heralds to kind of get the Earth ready for his consumption. But for the Silver Surfer, it's him kind of wondering, how can he save his friends? Or possibly, how can he save the entire planet? And so, even though the other heralds have made their way over to the Earth, it's him saying now, like, okay, I need to get there in a hurry to kind of help them out because the heralds are really powerful and our heroes don't truly stand a chance against the heralds of Galactus. It's kind of sad to see because for the Fantastic Four, they're kind of just hanging out and minding their business. Like, for example, Alicia Masters is making a sculpture of Ben Grimm, kind of showing like their relationship has grown a lot. And it's kind of cool to see, but at the same time, you already know by the end of this series, this right here won't technically matter anymore, but we do shift over to Reed and Sue. And for Reed and Sue, it's really important here because it's Susan telling Reed like, hey, I'm pregnant. Now, let's not forget, when it came to Susan, she was told in this reality that she was not able to have children. But the thing is, she went over to the main Marvel universe and she saw her, well, original version of herself with a son, Franklin Richards. But once she came back to her supposed reality, is her kind of realizing like, okay, I want to be a mother. And right now, she's pregnant. Now, you do have Susan go ahead and call up Johnny Storm and say, hey, brother, we're having dinner. We got some big news. But for Johnny Storm, he's kind of in this mindset right now where he's just upset about the idea that they had to leave the Inhumans behind because he fallen in love with Crystal. And so because of that, you have Johnny right now just in the training room, just going extreme levels to kind of keep his mind off the idea of Crystal. But the problem is, once he does finish his training session, his mind goes straight back over to who? Crystal once again. But now we have to shift our focus back over to Terrax. Now, when it comes to Terrax, it's him right now just arriving on Earth. He's one of the heralds of Galactus, and he was tasked to get the world ready for the consumption of Galactus, which means like take out any possible threats that could take down Galactus, like the Fantastic Four, because the Silver Surfer told Galactus about them. And so for Terrax, he can see like, yeah, y'all got some cosmic powers in y'all, but like, hey, it doesn't matter. You still gotta go. And so you do have our heroes try their best to fight against this powerful being who's not really easy to take down. And it kind of shows here because, yeah, for Susan Storm, she is able to put a force field around her to protect herself. But the problem is, like, for Terrax, this man knows what to do. And so he shakes the ground underneath her as a way to attack her. And so just like that, he's showing that no matter what, he has different ways to attack people. Now, when it comes to Reed, of course, he gets very upset about the idea of his girlfriend being attacked at the moment, especially now because she's pregnant. But the problem is, Reed's not powerful enough to take on a guy like Terrax by himself. So, of course, he's also taken out very easily. Now, when it comes to Susan, she tries her best to call up her brother, the Human Torch, who's back at the Baxter building. The problem is that for Johnny, he's not looking at his communicator. Why? Because again, he's still madly in love with Crystal. He missed Crystal so much that he keeps looking at pictures of her. And while you have everything popping off over there for Galactus, this man is truthfully on his way over to the Earth. And so for Galactus, while being in his spacecraft, he looks over data about the Earth. And for this guy, he's getting really hyped about the idea of consuming the Earth because he realized there is a lot of life energy there. And so for him, he's kind of like, this is perfect. All that life energy for myself is pretty great. But as we do switch back over to Johnny Storm, it's him realizing that things have truthfully popped off back at the park with the rest of the Fantastic Four. So you do have Johnny head over there to kind of help them out. Except when he does arrive, you have him and Ben being able to work together to take down Terrax. Now, right after you have our two heroes being able to, take down Terrax for the time being, you then have the two go look for Reed and Susan. Now they do find Reed. When they find Reed, they are then informed about the idea that Susan is pregnant. So of course, everyone is excited, but here comes the big problem though, because yes, they did defeat Terrax. But like I said earlier, the rest of the Heralds of Galactus were also sent over to the Earth, which means here comes Firelord and also Plasma, two other heralds of Galactus. And of course, for our heroes, it took a lot for them to just take down Terrax. But now they got to fight against two more heralds of Galactus. And this leads into Heroes Reunited Part 1. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we do pick up with Dr. Doom. Now, this is Dr. Doom arriving at New York City, arriving at the Laverian Embassy. And the reason why, because inside this place, he had his robots work on a brand new armor suit. Now, this armor suit will allow him the ability to siphon off the energy of somebody who has cosmic powers. Like, I don't know, Terrax or Plasma or Firelord or hey, maybe Galactus. But it's Dr. Doom saying like he believes it's officially ready. Now, let's not forget, when it came to Dr. Doom, he was confronted by a future version of himself that tried to warn him about their future and handed him a card that held information about their future. But for Dr. Doom, he took that card and added it into his armor suit. But now we're kind of able to switch over to the Fantastic Four as you do have the Human Torch in the Thing wanting to fight against the Heralds of Galactus. Now, of course, this is a bad idea because it took the entire team to defeat just one of the Heralds of Galactus. But now you're talking about three of them. Now, for Reed, he tries his best to kind of talk everything out. But with the idea of Terrax being a hothead character and also Ben Grimm as well, of course, it does lead into a battle. But like I said, these guys are heralds of Galactus. So technically, our heroes do not even stand a chance against these guys. But luckily for our heroes, you do have the Silver Surfer arrive at the very last second. And this is really more of the Silver Surfer kind of telling us, the readers, but also the other heralds of Galactus, that he looks at the Fantastic Four as not just heroes or just powerful beings, but also as his friends. Now, you do have Terrace kind of confused about the idea of the Silver Surfer kind of not really doing what their master had asked him to do. But you didn't have Galactus call back his heralds, and you have all four of them leave just like that. But right after you have the heralds of Galactus leave, you then have our heroes be called up by S.H.I.E.L.D. And so you have our heroes head over to the helicarrier. Now, this begins the process of the actual crossover. So the Fantastic Four are being confronted by Nick Fury and also the Avengers. And so you do have Nick Fury say like, hey guys, listen, this room right here, it handles space problems. And we kind of find out that you had S.H.I.E.L.D. detected the spacecraft that Galactus used as a way to travel across the universe. And apparently he had just passed the moon. So he's right outside the Earth space at the moment. And so you had Nick go ahead and sent out these probes to kind of get a good idea of what they're looking at. Now, most of their probes do get destroyed, except for one. And so it's now our heroes getting their first look at the spacecraft that belongs to Galactus. Now, on the actual spacecraft, we do pick up with the Heralds of Galactus meeting up with, well, Galactus. And this is Galactus saying that he feels like it's officially time to begin the process of consuming the Earth. Now, for the Silver Surfer, he wants to have a conversation with Galactus, possibly convince him to leave Earth alone. But again, earlier we saw that for Galactus, the Earth right now is holding a lot of energy that he would love to consume. And so, unfortunately, he tells Surfer, no, let's go ahead and move on with our plans. But getting back over to our heroes, is our heroes right now listening to Reed Richards, because for Reed, he's kind of telling the heroes what he realized throughout the entire series. The whole idea of all these things being connected, the Silver Surfer, Galactus, the Skrulls, the Inhumans, Mole Man, in some crazy way, all these different things are connected to one another. And so for Reed, as he goes on with his speech, that is when S.H.I.E.L.D. is then informed about some kind of new device that Galactus had just released. Now, this device is breaking apart into multiple components that will travel across the Earth. And so for our heroes, what they want to do is go to those different locations and try their best to get rid of those components. Now, for Reed, he'll stay behind. And the reason why, because he's going to try his best to create a device that should possibly help our heroes win against Galactus. So this leads into the first team to go after the first component that did crash land in the Himalayas by Firelord putting it there. Now, the first team is the Human Torch and the Inhumans. Now, this makes a lot of sense. And the reason why, because as we all know, for Johnny Storm, he's madly in love with Crystal, but also he wants to help out the Inhumans. Now, here's the thing, because Firelord is actually a very strong opponent. And even though you do have the Human Torch there, when it comes to Firelord, his powers are completely different from the Human Torch. So unfortunately for Johnny, he's not really able to do anything to Firelord, but Firelord can't. Now, you do have Firelord kind of tell us that the humans should not be trying to attack him because he is a herald of Galactus. And let's not forget, when it came to the Inhumans, they looked at Galactus and his heralds as pantheons, as gods. And so you have Firelord say like, hey, you can't attack me because, as you all know, once the Earth is consumed, your energy, your souls will go into your great god, better known as Galactus. And so now the question is, do the Inhumans attack Firelord to save the Earth or not do anything because of their culture? But you have Black Bolt choose the idea of saving the planet. And so for Black Bolt, he does attack the component that Fire Lord had placed down. Now, here's the problem though, because this component is storing a lot of energy. So with the idea of our heroes trying to get rid of it, of course, it begins to blow up. And so we're kind of left to believe of the idea that, well, the Inhumans plus the Human Torch had just died. Now, the second team will be the Avengers, and they went over to Monster Island. And the reason why, because Plasma, the other Herald of Galactus, well, she had placed her component right on Monster Island. So you do have our heroes arrive there and try their best to get rid of it. The problem is, it's our heroes fighting against Plasma, but also fighting against Mole Man, because Monster Island is Mole Man's home. Now, while you do have our heroes being able to fight against both Plasma and also Mole Man, the component has been activated. And so you have Namor go ahead and say, you know what? Let me sacrifice my life as a way to save the world. And so you have Namor take the component into the depths of a trench nearby, hoping the water pressure will be strong enough to just go ahead and destroy the component, but also making sure the explosion does not hit our heroes nor Monster Island. Now, for the surviving heroes, they do go back over to New York, except when they do, they're now seeing S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to fight against Galactus, which honestly is a bad idea, but they're trying. And you have Nick trying to use the helicarrier as a way to attack Galactus with all the weapons on the helicarrier. But you have Galactus take one shot, and just like that, the helicarrier is now about to blow up. And the reason why? Because of the reactor core. And so you have Nick tell all of his agents to get the heck out of there. Because for Nick, what he's going to do now is pilot the helicarrier over to Galactus, hoping that when the reactor core blows up, it might do some serious damage to Galactus or possibly stop him, but also his devices as well. And so for our heroes, unfortunately, they have to watch Nick Fury give up his life to hopefully save the world. And so just like that, there is an explosion. Except for Nick Fury, his plan does not work at all, because you have Galactus survive the explosion, but you didn't have Galactus use the metal on the different skyscrapers around him to repair the damage done to his devices that Nick Fury had tried to blow up. So technically, Nick's plan had completely failed. And so for our heroes, they're kind of like, okay, we got to retreat right now, because technically we're losing this battle. We gotta find a way to stop this guy. And so this kind of leads into our heroes having a meeting, right? Now, when our heroes do have this meeting, it's really more of Reed trying to re-explain everything to us again. Like, hey, you know, those components out there, they are technically being used as a way to kind of get the Earth ready for Galactus to consume. Now, once you do have our heroes learn that lesson right there, we also learn here that for Reed, he had created this device that should allow our heroes to fight against the cosmic beings, like nullify their cosmic attacks. Now, you do have Ben Grimm go ahead and put on the device, but while you do have our heroes talking to one another, two things happen. The first is that you have Susan find out that Johnny is dead. But now our heroes are once again attacked by Terrax. Now for our heroes, they're really able to take care of Terrax very easily now, thanks to Ben Grimm's device. Sorry, Reed Richards' device, not Ben Grimm's device. But with Terrax being handled, you then have our heroes shift their focus onto taking out the main device that Galactus is currently using. The problem is that all their different weapons are not really working when it comes to trying to get rid of it. Now, the last few pages of the storyline, man, it's really rough for our heroes, because you have Ben Grimm say, you know what, let me go ahead and use the device that Reed gave me and absorb the energy of Galactus. The problem is that you have Galactus go ahead and take all the energy that Ben Grimm had absorbed from Terrax, but also Ben Grimm's cosmic energy as well, turning him back into a regular human, but also knocking him out and Thor out as well. Just like that, in a matter of seconds, That's not even the rough part. The rough part is that you have Black Panther and also Ben Grimm be killed off by Terrax in a matter of seconds. Now things get even worse because you didn't have Terrax say like, oh, humans, you're wrong. You see, you thought there were only 3 components that were placed across the earth. There was a 4th one. There is another Herald of Galactus, and that would be Airwalker. Now you do have Terrax say, you know what, it's now time for me to kill off the rest of the heroes. But you do have the Silver Surfer try to step in and stop Terrax. And this leads into the final moments of this storyline, the final moments of the Earth. Yes, you heard that right, because when it comes to our heroes, they're trying to regroup, but you didn't have Dr. Doom arrive. Now for Dr. Doom, he's still trying his best to absorb the energy of somewhat cosmic powers. So of course, he goes over to Galactus, and Galactus sends him flying the other direction in like a matter of seconds. The problem is that it distracted Reed long enough to allow Galactus the ability to turn on his machine. And so just like that, the entire Earth was just consumed by Galactus. Now, at the very last second, you have Dr. Doom go back in time. But the book ends on that note, and that was just the first chapter of the storyline. But with that being said, man, oh man, oh man. Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into more Heroes Reunited. And we do pick up with part 2. Now, guys, just in case you're kind of wondering, like, why in the world I'm doing like 4 different videos for Heroes Reunited, is because each issue is like 40 to 45 pages long. So it's pretty long enough for us to do a video for each one of these. But also kind of gives me a small break when it comes to recording all these different storylines that I do in a short period of time. But anyways, getting back into Heroes Reborn Part 2. As you all know, at the ending of Part 1, we saw that Galactus was able to destroy the Earth. Like, he consumed it. So it's kind of like the heroes are officially dead, right? But now we have to dive into Avengers issue number 12, part 2 of the storyline. And matter of fact, as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we pick up in the past. We pick up the Avengers right now, giving the fake Thor a funeral. As you all know, when it came to Heroes Reborn, it was our heroes in the main Marvel universe transported into a brand new reality, but reborn in that brand new reality, except for Thor. For some strange reason, most likely because he's a god, when it came to Thor, he was not reborn in the Heroes Reborn reality. There was a fake Thor at first, and so we were kind of left to believe it was our original Thor, but it wasn't. And then out of nowhere, our Thor appeared in this reality. Now, the fake Thor died in a big battle against Loki. So right now, it's our heroes saying goodbye to the fake Thor for once and for all. But right after you have our heroes get done with the funeral, well, that is when you have Nick Fury get a call from one of his agents. Now, this guy is warning the Avengers, warning Nick like, hey, Galactus is coming. His heralds, they're killers. And matter of fact, they trashed my warp drive. Like, I'm gonna die as soon as I arrive back on Earth. But I want to tell you right now, y'all gotta get ready for Galactus. But the thing is, right after that message, that agent, his spacecraft, it flies right through the helicarrier into the Earth. Now, of course, the helicarrier did survive, but now as our heroes kind of wondering like, what the heck is Galactus? Because right now, this storyline is in the past. But right after that, you did have our heroes be confronted by Dr. Doom. Now, this is Dr. Doom from the future, from part 1. Because remember, at the end of part 1, Galactus was able to consume the Earth. But Dr. Doom was able to time travel back in time. And so now all we're seeing is Dr. Doom trying to warn the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, what's about to come. Here comes Galactus. He says, listen, what you have to do is get all types of missiles ready and use those missiles to hopefully kill off the Heralds. But also the Heralds, they're bringing devices to plant into the Earth. you must go out of your way to destroy the devices before they're able to be planted into the actual Earth. And then you have Doctor Doom leave. Now, for our heroes, they believe Doctor Doom, but mainly because, well, one of Nick's SHIELD agents just crashed back on Earth and said Galactus is on his way. And so because of that, bam, Nick is on the game. Now for Doctor Doom, he knows the Heralds have to go. They're really powerful. And so for Doctor Doom, what he's going to do is use missiles as a way to kill off the Heralds. He also knows the Avengers or the Fantastic Four. They will try their best to fight against the Heralds. And so for Doctor Doom, what he wants to do is use the missiles to kill off the Heralds, and most likely it'll kill off the heroes as well. And honestly, for Doctor Doom, that'll be okay. And the reason why, because then everyone will be out of his way to allow him to rule over the Earth. And for Nick Fury, this man is already on the game plan when it comes to figuring out how to stop Galactus. He says, hey guys, listen, we got 3 locations where the Heralds might appear with their devices. And so what he did was he already called up 3 different teams to handle these problems. The Fantastic Four, they're going to one location. The Avengers, a different location. The Hulk, the 3rd location. Now the Wasp and also Hank Pym, they stay behind because for Hank Pym, he has to show Wanda something very important. And that would be the Vision. And we do learn here that this is a new body that Hank Pym had created for the Vision. But also, when it came to Hank Pym, when he was inside the body of the Vision in the earlier storyline, you had Hank pull out a special chip. That special chip held all the memories of the Vision in that one single chip. So of course, when you have Hank plug that chip in the new body of the Vision, he remembers everything from the past. So now our heroes have another Avenger on their side to help out with this situation. But now we have to switch over to the Fantastic Four. Now, when they arrive in Moscow, they find the first Herald of Galactus. And of course, it would be the Silver Surfer, who's right now trying to plant the device into the Earth. Here's the thing, because for our heroes, they say the Silver Surfer in a previous storyline. But also, let's not forget, in the last chapter, when it came to the Silver Surfer, he had a change of heart when it came to the idea of Galactus trying to consume the Earth. But in this chapter, he's kind of like, hey, listen, I gotta do what my master tells me to do, which means if I have to fight against you guys, I will fight against you guys to allow Galactus to consume your planet. But let's not forget that Doctor Doom is watching this battle. And so for Doctor Doom, he's kind of like, cool, this is perfect because now I'm going to use some of my missiles to hopefully get rid of the Silver Surfer, but also his device. But at the same time, I can kill off the Fantastic Four all in one single blow. But getting back over to the battle with our heroes, they're still fighting against the Silver Surfer. But here's the thing, because you do have Reed Richards. Man, this dude got a plan like always. You see, for Reed, he brought this device that allows him the ability to absorb energy and then give that energy over to somebody else. Like, for example, cosmic energy. He absorbed the energy of the Silver Surfer and gave that energy over to Johnny Storm, making Johnny even stronger than he was earlier, but allowing Johnny the ability to go ahead and get rid of the device that was planted by the Silver Surfer. Now, here's the thing, because even though our heroes are now believing the idea that they have begun the process of saving the Earth, you have Reed and the Silver Surfer realize what's about to happen. The missiles are about to drop. The ones that Doctor Doom had fired. And for Susan, she's too weak right now to even try to put up a force field. And so just like that, that entire area got blown up. The Fantastic Four are dead. Now, the Silver Surfer survived. And Doctor Doom, he realized that his plan did not work on that one Herald right there. Now we do switch over to the Hulk, because the Hulk's right now on his way over to one of the 3 locations out there. Now, for the Hulk, he does get some backup. That will be the Vision and also the Scarlet Witch as well. Now we have to switch over to LA, and the reason why, because you have S.H.I.E.L.D. fighting against the third Herald, and that would be Plasma. Now, for Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., they're trying their best to do whatever they can to stop her, but the problem is that she's just too strong. And matter of fact, Nick gets hit by one of her attacks, and so it does seem like he's going to die. And so just like in the last chapter, you have Nick take the helicarrier and crash it right into Plasma. And the reason why, because the reactor core in the helicarrier is strong enough to, well, kill her off. And so just like that, there goes Plasma off the board. Now, as we do switch over to the third location, the Hulk again, and also Vision, you have the two characters fighting against Firelord. Now, technically, Firelord is really able to take the Hulk on, but it's the whole idea of the Hulk and Vision working together to kind of keep Firelord distracted long enough to allow the Vision to grab Firelord's staff and use the staff cosmic power as a way to get rid of the third device. And so just like that, you have our heroes being able to win this battle, it seems like. But once you have the Hulk turn back into Bruce Banner, we get the idea that Firelord attack did some serious damage to the Hulk, and Bruce is on the verge of death. But it's also Bruce realizing that what the heroes are trying to do right now is not going to allow them to win the battle against Galactus, really. But now we have to switch over to the Avengers. Now, when we do, it's really more of us seeing the Avengers fighting against Terrax. Now, for Terrax, he kills off Hawkeye very quick and easy. And I feel kind of bad because I am a Hawkeye fan, but at the same time, like, it's Hawkeye going up against Terrax. Like, it's not a fair battle at all. But either way, you do have the rest of the Avengers trying their best to get rid of Terrax, but also a device that he brought with him as well. Now, for Wasp, she also dies in the middle of the battle as well. And Thor does get hurt by Terrax pretty badly as well too. But you have Thor use his hammer to send Terrax right into the actual device, blowing it up, killing off Terrax. But also, again, it's our heroes believing that they are beginning the process of saving the world against Galactus. Now, for the Silver Surfer, he watched Plasma die, but he also watched Terrax die as well. Now, for Doctor Doom, he wanted to use another set of missiles, but the problem is that those missiles came from Russia. And the problem is that those missiles that he tried to use, they didn't shoot off correctly. They blew up while still being docked. And so, unfortunately, half of Russia just got blown up just like that. Now, when Galactus does arrive into New York City, he's confronted by what's technically left of the Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, and good old Captain America. But the problem is that you have our heroes find out that there is another Herald, and that will be Airwalker. But on top of that as well, when it comes to this Herald, he has another device. And matter of fact, more devices are being planted across the world to begin the process of allowing Galactus to consume the Earth. And for the Avengers, they got blasted pretty hard by Airwalker. So unfortunately, they have to retreat back over to Avengers Mansion. Now, once you do have the Avengers get back over to Avengers Mansion, they're then confronted by Vision, Scarlet Witch, Bruce Banner, Hank Pym, and Doctor Doom. Now, for Bruce Banner, the man got a plan. He said, hey, listen, we can't stop Galactus. The Earth is going to die, but let's go out with a bang. Let's go ahead and get rid of Galactus as well. And so what Bruce is saying is use the Gamma Core over at Avengers Island. Because remember, in an earlier storyline, when it came to the Gamma Core, it was kind of like this hole in space and time, pulling in different characters from different realities or different points in time. And so for our heroes, they believe if they go out of their way to destroy the Gamma Core, it should kill off the Earth, but also kill off Galactus as well. Now for Doctor Doom, he does not go with them at all because the Doctor Doom, what they're trying to do is completely crazy. And so for Doctor Doom, he leaves to once again try to time travel. Now, for the heroes, they go over to Avengers Island. Except when they do arrive at Avengers Island, you have our heroes go over to the Gamma Core. When they do, they're then confronted by the Silver Surfer. Now, for our heroes, they're kind of confused right now because they know that this man is a herald of Galactus. But it's him saying, like, I've been watching you guys and I realized something, that I learned something from you guys. The idea of compassion, the idea of hope, the sorrow. Like, I learned that basically this is completely wrong. And now I want to help you guys to save not this world, because this world is going to die, but at least stop Galactus to save other worlds out there in the universe. And so you had a Surfer being able to heal up Thor. Once he does that, you have our heroes attack all together, and that destroys the Gamma Core, ripping a hole in space and time. With that happening, of course, that means the Earth is gone just like that. Galactus gone just like that. Once again, the Earth has been destroyed in this storyline. The only thing left out there floating is Thor's hammer. Okay, so getting back into our coverage over Heroes Reunited, we do pick up with part 3, and part 3 takes place in Iron Man issue number 12 in the Heroes Reborn reality. Now, just in case you're kind of like getting into our coverage over Heroes Reunited, it's a whole storyline that took place in the Heroes Reborn reality. You know, the reality where in late 1990s, you had a few characters that were no longer selling books, and so when it came to Marvel Comics, they pushed those characters into a brand new reality to kind of give them a fresh start over. There were some old creators that were still popular in the 1990s, kind of hoping it would bring life back into those characters. And so when it came to Heroes Reborn, every like 6th issue, they would have a crossover. And this was the second one, better known as Heroes Reunited, where Galactus is trying to consume the Earth. And every single time the heroes try their best to stop Galactus, they fail. But every single time they do fail, it's Doctor Doom going back in time with what he learned to hopefully figure out, like, how can they save the world? How can they stop Galactus? And matter of fact, when it came to our first video over Heroes Reunited, it was Doctor Doom being confronted by a future version of himself. And that right there kicked off what to me calls a time loop. Like, it's just Doctor Doom constantly going back in time over and over again until he is able to find a way to stop Galactus. Now, for me personally, I kind of like this chapter a tad bit, and the reason why, because it brings in characters we did not see in the first 2 chapters, and that would be She-Hulk and Doc Samson, because in our last Iron Man video, you had Tony and Reed be confronted by the Hulkbusters, because in our last video, we had talked about the idea that our 3 Hulk characters are somewhat being affected by the gamma virus in their bodies. And so when it came to Bruce and Doc Samson, they kind of believe a blood transfusion could possibly help them, but Bruce turned to Hulk, so he began to freak out. You had She-Hulk step in. Of course, that led to her becoming the She-Hulk in this reality. Either way, for these 3 characters, they're right now the Hulkbusters in the Heroes Reborn reality. Now, this kind of brings up a conversation for Reed and Tony. Because for Reed and Tony, they kind of realize there's something off about this reality. And for me personally, this is a callback to our earlier videos where you had Reed and Tony kind of being able to get small glimpses of the main Marvel universe, but not getting the idea that they're from that universe, but they were pushed into a different reality. And so for Reed and Tony, they have been trying their best to figure out what's going on with their reality, because again, they all got powers. And it's really weird how one particular friend group is able to get powers, every single member of that friend group. But you did have our heroes be alerted about Galactus and his heralds coming to, well, the planet Earth. Now, when it comes to Tony, in our last video, him and Dr. Doom, they had time traveled. And while time traveling, they saw the spacecraft. And so for Tony, he definitely knows about that spacecraft. He definitely knows there's something special about it. But you do have Reed Richards be the first one to try to make contact with the Heralds of Galactus. And he tells Tony in the Hulkbusters, like, you guys are technically the backup team. Like, if things pop off, y'all come in then. Now, when it comes to Tony, one of the things I do want to point out that in the first issue of this series, we had technically learned that he was heartless, that he was emotionless. And the reason why, because, well, he watched one of his close friends die while testing out an armor that him and his best friend had created. But over time, with him being Iron Man, he has turned into this person who can show that he does have emotions, that he does have a heart. And so for Doc Samson, he's kind of happy about the idea of seeing Tony like that. But you didn't have Tony get a call about something else. So of course he has to leave. Now for the Hulkbusters, they believe it's actual business, but in reality it's something, well, personal. Because in the earlier video, we had saw that Happy Hogan got like seriously injured. Now, in an earlier video, I kind of had mentioned that Happy Hogan had died, but that's not the actual case there. You see, Happy Hogan survived. And the thing was, in the artwork in that last video I recorded, I really thought Happy Hogan died, but that's my fault. But in reality, he did survive. So it's Tony right now, seeing how Happy he is at the hospital. But while you have Tony, Pepper, and Happy just hanging out at the hospital, you have Dr. Doom arrive. Now, when Dr. Doom does arrive, this is Dr. Doom once again trying to save the world by going back in time with the information that he remembers from his last few attempts. And so it's him saying, okay, you know what, Tony, we gotta go. He grabs Tony and they leave. And he makes sure to grab Tony's Iron Man suit as well. Now we do switch over to the Hulkbusters, and they're watching the Fantastic Four fight against the Heralds of Galactus. Now while they're doing that, I kind of find this a tad bit funny, and the reason why, because in the earlier chapters of the storyline, we saw the Heralds of Galactus take on teams of heroes by themselves, and to see Fantastic Four go one-on-one with these guys is pretty wild to me. I feel like they should be dead by now. But either way, we switch over to Bruce Banner, who's being confronted by Liz. Now, Liz was head of security for Tony Stark's company. But the thing is, when it came to Bruce Banner getting hit with gamma radiation, turning him into, well, the Hulk, for her, it gave her radiation poisoning. She's dying. And so it's her saying goodbye to Bruce Banner. Now, when it comes to Dr. Doom and Tony Stark, they're having this conversation where it's Dr. Doom wanting Tony Stark to understand about what happened in the last video we covered. The whole idea of the two characters going throughout time, but in the main Marvel universe. And so it's Dr. Doom saying, like, Tony, you have to realize something, that there's something off about us, about this reality. But it's also Dr. Doom beginning to remember his original past over from the main Marvel universe. Because it's Dr. Doom saying, think back to a year ago. But for him, a year ago was the Onslaught crossover. The whole idea of our heroes fighting against Onslaught and our heroes going into him and being transported over to the Heroes Reborn reality. Now for Tony Stark, he can't believe what he's hearing from Dr. Doom, but it's Dr. Doom saying, like, no, when it came to Onslaught, you grabbed me and pulled me into him, into this reality. It's Dr. Doom beginning to remember. But unfortunately, their conversation ends because you have Nick Fury say, hey guys, listen, I need all hands on deck. So y'all guys are coming over to the helicarrier. And this is more of Nick Fury telling the Avengers, like, hey, listen, so the Fantastic Four, they're dead. Like, they died fighting against the Heralds of Galactus. So, like, it's up to y'all to fight against them, but to also fight against their boss Galactus when he arrives. Now, once you have Doctor Doom hears that Reed Richards had died again, that's now twice that Reed Richards had died. It's Doctor Doom saying like, okay, so like I need to work with the Avengers, work with my old colleagues from college like Hank Pym and Tony Stark to find a way to hopefully defeat Galactus and save this world. And so it's now our heroes beginning to move out with their plan. You have all the hard hitters fight against the Heralds of Galactus, while you have all the smart ones stay behind to hopefully make something to save the world. Now, the next few pages for me kind of shows the timeline being changed, because in this timeline, you have our heroes being able to take on the Heralds of Galactus and being able to kill them off. But this time, because they worked as a team, unlike the Fantastic Four, who did one-on-one battles. And so you do have our heroes being able to kill off the different Heralds of Galactus. And so this kind of leads into the ending of the storyline, right? Where we get to that point where it's the heroes using a device that was created by Tony, Hank, Bruce, and also Victor, the ultimate nullifier. And they're kind of hoping it will work against Galactus. The problem is you have Galactus just go ahead and get rid of that device in a matter of seconds. So just like that, our heroes had failed. And so with our heroes failing, it's Doctor Doom realizing he has to go back in time once again to hopefully find a way to stop Galactus. And this leads into the final chapter of Heroes Reunited, which is part 4, Captain America issue number 12. With that, okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over Heroes Reunited. And with that being said, we do pick up the final chapter of this crossover that took place in Captain America issue number 12. Now remember, this storyline does take place over in the Heroes Reborn reality for Marvel Comics. Now, as we all know, that came out of the whole idea of Onslaught, where you had our heroes go into Onslaught but be transported into a different reality, because in the late 1990s, some properties of Marvel Comics were no longer selling, and so they had a great idea to push those characters away in a different reality and give old creators a chance to kind of give those characters a fresh start in a brand new reality, and hoping that it would bring fans back into Marvel Comics for those characters like Iron Man, the Avengers, and Fantastic Four. Anyway, so Heroes Reunited, it's really more about the idea of our heroes trying the best to defeat Galactus. And technically, it's really more about Doctor Doom trying his best to defeat Galactus. And let me explain. You see, when it came to the very beginning of Heroes Reunited, you had Galactus arrive to Earth. When he did, things popped off very quickly, but the Earth was consumed by Galactus. What you've been seen in the earlier chapters is Doctor Doom going back in time every single time he failed to stop Galactus. So now this is his fourth and final attempt. And the reason why it's his fourth and final attempt, because at the end of the last chapter for Doctor Doom, his device that allows him to time travel got damaged. So unfortunately for Doom, he has to get it right here to basically stop Galactus, but to save the world. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we really do pick up with Rebecca Barnes. Now, Rebecca Barnes is the Bucky of this reality, the Bucky of the 1990s for this reality. Now, here's the thing, because when it comes to Rebecca Barnes, there's so much about this character that comes out later on in later books down the road when it comes to Marvel Comics. So like, she's a very intriguing character for the overall idea of Heroes Reborn. And you see what I mean if we ever come back to this reality. But for Rebecca Barnes, when she does get home, she's confronted by Doctor Doom. Now, for me personally, I would freak out as well. But the reason why you have Doctor Doom there for You see, for Dr. Doom, he was able to access the shield files. And with him doing that, he learned that Rebecca is technically a chronal anomaly. She should not exist at all. And that right there continues the whole idea that Dr. Doom is slowly realizing that there's something off about this reality. The possibility that this reality should not even exist at all. And that right there is pretty important. But either way, for Dr. Doom, he feels like he should go ahead and just kill her off because, again, she should not even exist at all when it comes to this reality. But you did have Steve Rogers appear. Now, when Steve Rogers does appear, you have both characters just stop in their track. It is not like Dr. Doom and Steve are going to fight. And it's not like Dr. Doom is scared of Steve Rogers. It's more of like, for me personally, it's Dr. Doom remembering that what he's here for. Like, the dude traveled back in time to find a way to stop Galactus. So why should he waste time on Rebecca Barnes when technically he should be focused on finding a way to defeat Galactus? So it's him saying, like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get the heroes together to fight against Galactus. Now, here's the thing, because for Dr. Doom, he also drops the hint for Steve Rogers that he is somehow connected to S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, we did learn in the earlier chapters that when it comes to S.H.I.E.L.D., they do work with Tony Stark, but they also work with Dr. Doom as well. And so you then have Dr. Doom begin the process of trying to bring together the heroes of this reality. And the thing is, it's Dr. Doom also realizing that he needs Reed Richards. And for me personally, that is pretty big for Dr. Doom, because for Doom, he realized he needs the help of other scientists like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, to find a way to defeat Galactus. But here's the thing though, because in the earlier chapters, we always saw Fantastic Four die first. And so when it comes to Dr. Doom, he knows that the Heralds of Galactus will fight against Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four will die, and that will hurt their chances to finding a way to defeat Galactus. So you had Doom get the Avengers, they go out there, protect the Fantastic Four, defeat the Heralds of Galactus, and now you have our heroes being able to begin the process of working together to find a way to stop Galactus. Now, for Galactus, he knows that his heralds have basically failed on Earth. Now, when it comes to Galactus, he has 5 heralds, so only 4 of them have failed. Terrax, Firelord, Plasma, and Airwalker. But the Silver Surfer is still around. And the thing is, he's hoping the Silver Surfer will still be able to finish the job, to get the Earth ready for Galactus to consume. Now, for the Silver Surfer, we saw in earlier videos that he kind of hates the idea of Earth being consumed by Galactus because the Fantastic Four has saved him. And so he's beginning to grow when it comes to having emotions. But either way, you do have Galactus order Surfer to go get the Earth ready for consumption. But now we have to shift over to the Knights of the Atomic Round Table. Now, that name was given to that group back in college. And really, everyone involved in that group were basically scientists in some types of ways. Like, for example, you got Tony Stark, you got Hank Pym, Dr. Doom, Bruce Banner, Reed Richards. There was one more character known as Rebel, but he officially died by this point in the Heroes Reborn reality. But all of these characters met back in college, and now it's all of them coming together to figure out how to get rid of Galactus. And the thing is, Bruce Banner has an idea. He's kind of like, hey, let's give Galactus exactly what he wants. And you have everyone freak out like, whoa, what in the world did Bruce Banner just say right now? But now we have to shift back over to Rebecca Barnes. Now, for Rebecca Barnes, it's really more of her at Avengers Mansion alongside with the other heroes. But on her mind at the moment is the whole idea of what Dr. Doom had told her. Like, hey, you should not exist. And so for Rebecca, she wants to know, what does that truly mean? Like, is there a possibility that she should not be around at all when it comes to being in this reality? But you didn't have her be confronted by the Silver Surfer. Now, for the Silver Surfer, even though he's still working for Galactus, he still wants to find a way to help out the humans. And so you had a Silver Surfer tell Rebecca, hey, listen, I have a message, and you need to get this message over to the heroes that Galactus is coming. And when he does arrive, your Earth is going to be consumed. And I'm telling y'all this right now so that you may be able to use your science to find a way off this planet, to take a few people somewhere else, to restart humanity somewhere else. Now, of course, Rebecca, she believes in the heroes. They're going to find a way to stop Galactus, to save this Earth. But for the Silver Surfer, he only came here to give her a message to give over to the other heroes. Now, while he does try to leave, you have her grab onto his board. Now, Steve Rogers sees that she has, of course, grabbed onto the Silver Surfer's board. And this leads into a very sad moment because while you do have Rebecca holding on to the surfer board, you didn't have Galactus appear. When he does appear, you have Galactus hit her with some kind of cosmic energy, having her fall into a body of water. Now, luckily, Steve was around, but for the Silver Surfer, he's kind of like, what did I do? Like, what have my actions brought? Like, if I only came here and did the job that Galactus had asked me to do, there's a possibility that little girl would not got hit by my master's cosmic blast. So you did have Steve Rogers bring her back over to Avengers Mansion. Now, with him doing that, of course, you have all the Avengers, all the heroes seeing what happened to her. And of course, that motivates them even more to find a way to bring down Galactus. Now, right after that, you did have the heroes get one more person on their side, and that would be the Silver Surfer. He's no longer working for Galactus. He will now help the heroes to find a way to bring down his old master. And so you have our heroes give the Silver Surfer the ultimate nullifier. Now, here's the thing, because if anybody ever used this device, you're going to die. It's a major sacrifice that technically has to be done as a way to get rid of Galactus. And so for the Silver Surfer, he agrees to be the one to sacrifice his life to save this planet. And so with the ultimate nullifier, what it's going to do is absorb the energy of our heroes, but also the energy of Galactus, and then continue to feed Galactus until technically he overloads. And so that is their actual plan to defeat Galactus once and for all. And it does really work out for our heroes where Galactus is truly defeated. Now, with Galactus being gone, you didn't have our heroes go their separate ways, right? Now, for Reed Richards, is him kind of hoping that Dr. Doom will go ahead and switch sides. Like, Dr. Doom will try to reopen the doors that he had locked away in his heart and allow the different people that he made friends with back in college be back in his life once again. But of course, for Dr. Doom, he can't do that. But to go ahead and get into the ending of the storyline, we do switch over to Steve Rogers, right? And so for Steve Rogers, he's currently at the grave at Abraham Wilson. Now, Abraham Wilson was the father to Sam Wilson, who died trying to give Steve back his shield. But you didn't have Steve be confronted by Richard Barnes and Peggy Carter. Now, of course, as we know, Steve should know these characters very well. But the thing is, Steve does not remember them. And this kind of leads into the idea of them, or they were going to, try to give us another origin story for Steve Rogers in this reality. But unfortunately, when it came to Heroes Reborn, it got canceled, and you did have our heroes go back into the main Marvel universe, restoring the original origin of Steve Rogers. But the reason why I'm saying all of this because for Steve, being confronted by Bucky and also Peggy and not knowing them, you didn't have Nick Fury appear. And for Nick Fury, he says, listen, we can't tell you how you know them or when you met them. But it's also Nick Fury saying, like, by the way, what you were told, the whole idea of Truman. Because remember, in the very first story arc for Steve Rogers in this reality, we had learned that he wasn't frozen in time. That technically what happened was, for Steve Rogers, he had a disagreement with the president after World War II because they had dropped the bombs in Japan. And he hated the idea of them doing that. And so what Nick Fury did was he used technology back then to control the mind of Steve Rogers, to make him live different lives throughout the years leading into the 1990s. And so here we are now. It's Nick saying, like, there's a possibility none of that happened, which means how in the world did Steve survive from World War II up to until now? Like, what happened between these 2 points in time? But the thing is, we don't get the chance to learn it here. And so with that being said, guys, this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.